I move to accept.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, need to change anything around or we all set with the order? All right, have some students here. Visitors,
I told them.
Got one.
Deputy Lynch, yes.
Yes. James Lynch.
Just hanging out? Or do you have-
Yes, just hanging out. The sheriff asked me to come to a meeting or two, and thought it'd be an interesting thing to take in.
All right, okay.
How has it been so far?
It's been delightful.
Can I just take a
Hang it
minute
out.
to recognize our visitor? So we made the shift to the Alice response for school safety issues, and Jim has taken a lead on that and has done a wonderful job of training not only all of the Enosburg staff members, he also volunteered his time to stay and do some training with a group of about 30 substitute teachers. So he's really been instrumental in helping us to roll out that training plan to a lot of people in RSU. So we very much appreciate
Well,
Jim.
thank you. Thanks very much.
I've heard you're a great presenter.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All right. I assume you're Heather?
Yes.
All right,
Hi.
you're up.
Okay. So my name is Heather Moore, and I am the new LEAPS after-school program director. I took over from Maria Gleason for the summer. So I just wanted to come today to introduce myself, get to know you a little bit, and talk a little bit about how this is actually a grant writing year for the after-school programs. So the grant is a five-year grant. This is the 5th year. And the new grant application is due on February 2nd, for refunding for the next 5 years. So I'm sure you're aware, so a portion of the after-school program is funded through the 21C grant, and then local funds, and then we have, at this site, we have income as well for some tuition for some of the programming. And any questions with that right now?
I think it might be nice if we told you who we were,
Yeah,
right? Like I
that could
should
be
have tuned
helpful.
into introducing you to Heather. So maybe you
So
can-
Michael Wright, I'm actually the vice chair of the school board.
Rick Bartholomew.
Polly Rico.
Jessica Vilna, vice principal here at the high school.
Yeah, Nate Demar. Hello.
We met.
In the restaurant.
Yeah. Okay.
Amanda.
Okay.
and you know this side of the table.
Yep, this is just the numbers, I didn't know. Okay, so there were any questions about the grant you read so far?
I think so.
Okay.
So the grant is pretty competitive. I just want to add this piece in that we've earned this grant. We received it through 2 cycles, so a total of 10 years.
It's been more than 10 years.
Has it been 2?
Yeah.
Has it been 3?
I think it's been 3.
I think that part of it was just with the middle school principal, Sandy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Schrader.
At the time.
So the point is just that there's not enough money that is set aside for the LEAPS funding to fund all of the applications that they receive. So the process that Heather is outlining for you is incredibly important in terms of participation, because I think that everyone here probably recognizes how important this program is to our kids, our communities, our families in general. So this competitive process that we're about to embark on, it's really important, and Heather's going to be asking you for some feedback and assistance. So I'm hoping this is a good opportunity for her to outline that and make this connection with you so that you tune in when she asks for more data later.
Right, yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I was fortunate enough to be part of the state visit last January, because every couple of years the state comes and does observations in the after-school programs, and they always make a point to do it the year before the program does grant writing. So we got some really good feedback. It was almost all very positive. There were the programs are amazing, so that's really good to know. The little bit of feedback that they gave is they'd really like to see the program expand to add 4 more weeks during the school year, to bring it up to 32 weeks. I'm sure most community members would say it's really important for the families for having that supervision after school, the place for the kids to be, and they'd like us to to see us be able to expand possibly for those 4 weeks. The site here has summer programming, and that's a really successful summer program. And the state likes what they saw. It was very good. They also visited over the summer. So that's good and exciting. I think that we have a really good chance with being accepted again for this grant. What I'll need from the school board and other stakeholders is feedback of like what maybe we could do to maybe extend for those extra 4 weeks, or if there's other programming opportunities, other partnership opportunities that we aren't tapping into. That's a really big factor into receiving the grant is the community partnerships and how tied in the school is to the programs and the community at large. And we already have a really good partnership with the community and the school, and that's wonderful, but there still might be other resources that we haven't thought of just right now. So if you come up with ideas, we can either chat about them now, or you can send me an email later.
I noticed this in the library has been reaching out to do partnership
They've been doing a
programs.
STEM Thursday, right?
Yeah, so I'm wondering if there's more, because they receive, different grant funding as well to have different programs. Like for instance, this summer that they put together backpacks with field guides and everything in it that people could come and sign out, and so, maybe, I'm not even sure. But the library seems to be a nice fit.
Yeah, and I know that they had talked about doing some more cooking classes with kids, simple recipes that wouldn't require a kitchen.
And they were doing gardening for a little bit, exactly.
I think you've recently added another community partnership with the country club,
Yes.
right? So they're doing a program for the kids, I think, this
Yeah, they're
month.
volunteering their time. They're doing golfing, which my understanding is, I don't remember who, but somebody mentioned to Karen Powers, the coordinator, that a desire for a golf team at Enosburg. So that's the inklings of the beginning parts of the bigger collaboration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have to think some more.
Yeah, I know, especially for Enosburg, the Enosburg Initiative. Have you all heard of the Enosburg Initiative?
Yeah.
They're really excited about the idea of doing collaborations with the school, whether it be during the school day or in the after-school programming too. I've been working, I'm a member of the Enosburg Initiative, and I've been working with Maggie Cabezos on doing some collaboration with them, and if there's more opportunities of getting business members into the school, they would be very happy to take that on.
And then also the Historical Society, I'm thinking about if a kid was like really interested in history, like creating little exhibits, or, because I noticed that that's what they do a lot, is they'll just kind of go around the museum and just pull different things to create like a themed exhibit or something. Like that might be neat for kids to do if they're into history, or, that might be neat.
That is pretty neat. I know that they are doing something with making plaques,
Oh, yeah, good.
3D modeling, but it's kind of a fun idea, the idea of them doing an exhibit. So in a couple of weeks, some of us will be going to a grant writing workshop specifically around the 21C grants to get us, get some feedback and provide us some direction. So at some point, I'll probably be stopping back in to check in, talk about where we've progressed so far with the grant.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Morgan?
We can punt VHI Visit annual meeting proxy to later in the meeting when talks about the SBA conference. And everything else I have on there is informational, so it was in your packet, so I'm happy to try to answer any questions. That's a proxy is the only action item I have.
I think it's like,
Bye, Heather.
It's all financial, it's all very initial since we're only a couple weeks. Since school.
How did we end up for last year?
yeah, I was gonna say,
Haven't seen the audited numbers, but it is in the hole.
Nice.
We were not able to move some health insurance premiums that really were for August and September. Because I don't know who was on the negotiations committee, but we clear up the teacher's pay now in June. Previously, we had run paychecks and run benefits through August, and then they'd start up again in September. We're trying to keep pushing some of those expenses into July and August, and we're not able to.
Okay.
So
How
that
did,
really would have just been kicking the can down the road a year.
right. And then tuition and DePau, we were down.
We were down whatever that figure was that we
And that didn't
put
move.
forward. We don't know what we're gonna be able to bill back for next year yet.
Okay.
We send all our financial information to the state, and they will eventually come up with the actual tuition rate for Enosburg and for Cold Hollow. And then at that point, we will either cut a check to the sending districts or send a bill to the sending districts to true that up. That tends to be November that we see that.
So help me, which I guess we can talk about this later, but, so making up with the deficit from last year, and we're also in the hole for this year?
We are not in the hole yet for this year.
Okay,
We're
that's
only
what
in
I thought you
September.
said. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. So the deficit from last year is gonna go forward to your FY '21 budget,
Right,
unless you go to the voters and ask to do something different, which is what we did last year.
okay.
We just don't know we're doing the FY '20 budget for.
Got
Yeah.
you. So what was the comment, we're in the hole for him?
This is last year. This is
Last year.
That was last year, we're talking about last year?
Yeah.
Okay, that I knew.
The only-
Okay, I knew we were, okay.
So I think the only thing on this year that's off a little bit is the estimate of the full-time equivalents, right?
Right.
Okay,
And we, that's really a moving target until the end of October,
Right.
because we'll send that list out to all the sending
Okay.
schools, and they'll try to knock people off, and we'll try to.
Put 'em back on.
right, okay.
So by our October meeting, we'll have a stronger idea. We being Eric and Sally Bashaw here, will have been through that list, and they'll be pretty confident who they think they can bill out, but the sending school principals really won't have had time to go through and try to find reason that it should be going to you or going to another town.
Okay. Okay,
Any other questions for Morgan? Nate?
All right. Just a couple big updates. First one, like Rachel, I just wanted to give you an update that I have been accepted into the Waddington cohort as a very late addition to that. Jay Nichols had a spot, he knew I was interested, so that would be taking place at the end of October. So we have no school on the 22nd, I believe, so that's the day I'll be taking off, and it'd be 3.5 days in North Carolina for that training.
What's it?
It is the Center for Creative Leadership, and Margaret Waddington left a whole bunch of money for Vermont educators, principals to get trained in leadership training. And so the goal of VPA, who's running it, is to get all Vermont principals through this program. I think this is like cohort 6 or 7. You were probably 5.
I was 5, we just finished last week.
And
was
then
my
there's,
last 2 days.
so 7 and 8 and 9 are already being applications. So it's a 3-day training in North Carolina, and then a couple follow-up days after that. So,
And it's fully funded, they pay for your flights, your hotel, your training, all of your materials, everything is paid for in the endowment if you get into the program.
So we've sent Rachel, Beth, and Anissa for this cohort. Nate is going. And then I know that 2 other principals are applying for the cohort beyond you.
right.
season 7.
Awesome.
And I just because I'm on the executive committee of the VPA, I think Jay will be able to just kind of handpick me and
Right,
pass me through, so.
okay.
I don't
So-
even think I had to write you a letter.
You didn't, I didn't have to fill out an application. I think it was pretty,
Yeah, don't tell Rachel that.
I was gonna say, I would not be advertising that.
pretty smooth process.
People just hand him things.
So it's one of the
fair.
benefits from being on, like, you're on the board, right?
Right.
VPA,
Yeah.
executive board.
So,
Board privilege.
right, so, yeah, so I
It's
didn't.
incredible, though.
It is, I'm looking forward to it, so I will be gone for a few days. Unfortunately, that is also the same week, just for an update, of the FFA Nationals, so we have 6 students going with Mr. Goss and Mrs. Stebbins to Indianapolis. They'll be driving out that Monday as well and coming back on Friday for FFA Nationals. They have a counter of how many people go to that. It's already over 60,000 students from across the country that will be at this conference in Indianapolis. So, and we have some state winners that will be going and representing us at the national level. So, public speaking and dairy judging and one other one I can't remember off the top of my head.
Those are the last few days of October?
The week of the 22nd, yeah. And then the only other thing I want to report, and if you would like to participate, October 17th is our advisory board meeting. So we do a fall advisory board and a spring advisory board. The fall one, we do a dinner, potluck lasagna dinner for all advisory board members. I do a little spiel about what's going on at Cold Hollow, and then they break into each of their groups. So you are more than welcome to come and sit in on any one program, or if you want to just kind of come in for the dinner and then poke your head in to see who's on those boards. Those are our industry partners, our employers, who we report on where our kids are, what kind of businesses they're going into, but then they give us their input of what they are seeing from the field as needs that should be being addressed at our school. And so again, that starts at the meals at 5:30, and the meetings start around 6:15. So.
Okay, great.
And then I don't remember if I ever shared you our employability card. So we're really pushing our employability skills. And one of the things that we're going to be doing a big PR push on is, if you earn this card, we're going to hopefully the businesses will buy into, if a kid comes to you and they have this card, give them an interview. So here's the criteria of what that looks like for a kid to earn that. And so that's something it'll be in the papers, and it'll be for seniors this year, because there's a lot of this stuff we don't do until senior year with the approved resume and the co-op experience. So anyway, this will be just part of a minor marketing push about employability through Cold Hollow. So I'm gonna share that with you. I think that's it.
Really cool.
All set, Nate?
I am, thank you.
All right. Michelle?
All right. So in my board report too, I'm just going to touch on each thing as I go through and hand you out a couple of pieces to look at. I just am noticing I should have put the continuous improvement plan as an action item, but I can bring it back for October meeting. But so just to start, we've had a very busy beginning of the year again, and I wanted to make a note in here just to just publicly speak about Lisa Chafee and how much she organizes and does and works in that front office. And I want you to know, I feel like even though we've had a couple days where we may have had 1 or 2 kids going in a direction they may not have been going, they were supposed to go in, she really is, she's pretty amazing. And if you see her at any point, I really hope that you say, you know, I spoke about her at the meeting, and the role of that job just keeps getting bigger and bigger the more we look at school security. And you know, I'm going to speak a little bit about our school safety grant award, and just I feel for the administrative assistants right in the front office of every one of our schools, because things are just so different than they were 15 years ago. So we've had a wonderful start. I think if you came in the building, you probably would pick up some really good energy. Still holding at 281 kiddos, pre-K through 5. So good to see. I want to be sure you knew that our Ginger Miles, our paraeducator since I believe 2003, she's worked in and out of schools, but received the award this year for the Supervisor Union Para of the Year. think it's well-deserved, and glad to see that she got that recognition.
She also, can I add something?
Sure.
She also got like a lifesaver award because she was at the elementary school.
She worked at our summer camp, and I think it was the week of the 4th of July, because I know I wasn't there that day. And an individual who came to pick up one of the younger kids, he dropped right in the lobby and started.
She used the AED to revive, and
Yeah.
actually Jim assisted, so we recognized her also for the life-saving measures she took, so it's pretty
That's amazing.
impressive what she did. And it just goes to show the value of having AEDs
Yeah.
in our school.
And I want you to know, we, at the end of the year, I shared that with you
Yeah.
in an email. I think I should share that with you. It was a debate about whether or not the battery started blinking like it would in any alarm, like a house alarm. And it was maybe June 10th, and I knew how close we were budget-wise. Batteries aren't cheap. It was $185, and I still said, I don't feel okay. We have to put
Right.
it in, and thank goodness.
Yeah.
I think I would have been just really bad. So, I'm gonna hand out to you a fat packet, sorry about that, our continuous improvement plan, but I should have added it electronically when I sent off the board report and forgot to attach it. I feel like you do need time to look at it. It doesn't look as overwhelming as it appears here with this many pages, but, similar to all the other schools in our SU, for us to use our consolidated grant funding and kind of weave together some other funding that we use, we had to come up with an overall plan that will follow for the next 2 years for improvement. And we were told we had to pick out of 5 areas. As a group, we looked at 3 of those 5, and right specifically on page 5 of your document, the 3 areas we chose to work on are academic proficiency, safe and healthy schools, and high-quality staffing. And as you flip through, there are statements in there that help support why we feel these are the best areas for us to choose at the elementary level. And then as it goes to the backside, just some key things we're going to do to help move, to continue to improve. Generally, I can say one big one, of course, is making sure that all students get the minimum required time for instruction. It should be 90 minutes in math, it should be 120 minutes for reading and writing. With a couple things that I've tweaked with the schedule this year, most classrooms, I think we have only one block where we're 10 minutes short on a little bit of that. So that's a key piece. Working hard still to be sure our interventions that we pick, and we actually are stealing the middle school with permission. The name for their time, their win time, what I need time, is as effective as it possibly can be. So when our building, that means just making sure that we are taking a close look at what we're doing during those reteach times to be sure they're effective and they're making that 8-week difference that we're hoping we make for all students. Safe and healthy schools, a big component of is the ALICE training, which we've done, and then going forth with the youngest kiddos, teaching them the key components to it and all the options that we have, so.
We're not there yet,
Yeah,
that's
we're
coming,
getting-
we still have a rollout with parents, and then we'll start phasing that training in with our kids.
Right, but you'll see that's in here as well. So I'm wondering if it's fine with you, if you have the document, and then I'll bring it back next month to see if you have any questions, and then we'll ask for approval of it then. Does that
Okay.
sound good?
So can I just tip you not to get, the format is not great, and we're all in that same boat. We have an SU plan that looks like that. We're required to put it in this format through the system that is given to us from the state. So even, it may look like some of the words are mushed together, there are parts that you can't correct on the system. So it's more about the technology that was limiting to us as we wrote these. So if you can try to get past the way it looks and get to the the goals and what the targets are for improvement. That's the meat of it.
Okay.
Very good point. I didn't think it would be worth the time to rewrite it.
Yeah.
Ask someone else to do it when there were
Yeah.
more high priority pieces. And then next, I just wanted to send around a list of staff assignments for the year. So that's coming through as well. It's in our student calendar handbook, but I don't know that I went into as much detail as I did on this document where I added the grade level. I put down the FTE if they weren't full-time. I didn't, there are a couple staff members, actually I did, yeah, if you flip over to the back side, I made sure you could see if a staff member is contracted through NCSS. And so on, so hopefully this helps you if you're walking through our building or you bump into someone and they talk about working in the school. Okay. And then lastly, I wanted to just touch on the school safety grant for Enosburg Elementary School. We did receive what I asked for. I really was thinking there were other priority items around that the state funding could be used for, because we have certain things already. We do have the locking mechanism in the front door. We can call from most of the rooms, not all of the rooms. We need the U91 compliance, but I added in there that it would be helpful if in our building we had better control over access, the different access points. Because we don't have an alarm in our building, we have an old notebook that keeps track, that Larry has kept track, our custodian for years, of who has a key, but who knows who's copied a key, and just felt like it would be really important for us to get a sense by getting some kind of electronic card reader that we could issue to visitors that come in, to coaches that use the building, to all staff, so they have their own key access, and it was accepted.
Yeah, because it would also log who's entering the building and who's not.
Yes, in
Yeah.
times.
Exactly.
And if you want to take someone's access away, you
Right.
just
Yeah.
take it off the computer.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I have a lot to learn with this, but now I'm kind of flipping back to me talking about Lisa Chapey's position in the beginning of of this board report, just keeping in mind as I add this as one more thing, I'm really gonna try to figure out how else I can offer, some support by taking some stuff away, or else having someone else run that one specific task. I haven't figured that out yet.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions then?
Guess we're all set.
Great.
Good, thank you.
Rachel?
So I have some similar items to Michelle. Several of mine are relevant to both the middle and high school. So we also applied for the school safety grant, and I wrote that this summer for the middle and high school, and we got every dollar we asked for as well, close to $15,000. So one of the interesting challenges in the middle and high school is in order to safely barricade some of the doors, we have a lot of doors, especially in the older part of the high school, that open outward. So it makes it a lot harder to barricade and block the entrance if somebody can pull the door open out from the hallway. So one of the things we wrote into the grant are these, I put a picture of it in your notes, but it's called a sleeve. They slide over door arms, and regardless of what direction your door opens, they prevent the door arm from expanding, and then you can't open the door that way. And they can just be slid on during a lockdown or any sort of time when security like that is required, and can just be slid off and put away when you're done with them. So a major part of the grant was that we got a sleeve for all of the doors that can use one in the middle and high school, including the doors that can open inwards. They all still have a door arm, so you can still benefit from the safety feature that offers. We also put in...
Can I just clarify, Rachel, did you say middle and high school?
Yep. So yeah, we went through the building and I think there's 46 doors that open inward or outward. So there's one size sleeve for those and another size sleeve for all the other doors. So yeah, so we got those. And then also, this is kind of a bigger discussion we'll have to get into at some point, but I also wrote into the grant a patch for the it doesn't get us fully E911 compliant with our phone systems, but there's a patch available from Fairpoint and Twin State, who we work with for our technology. Nate Gingras found that can be installed into all the phones. So if you have to call 911 from a phone in the school, it will tell you where in the school that call is coming from. Currently, if you call 911 from the school, from any line, it's just going to say Enosburg High School. So it could be one of my teachers way over in the middle school, or it could be somebody calling from the auditorium and you wouldn't know where to go. And we have a large enough building that knowing that information is critical in an emergency event. And so this would be a patch that would allow for that notification to occur. Right now, even if the Cold Hollow Sugar Shack calls, it says, were to call for an emergency call, it says they're calling from Enosburg High School. So they wouldn't know that that is actually like 8 miles out of town and not anywhere even near the school. So this is just it's kind of a major safety thing, and it leads into a bigger conversation about E911 compliance. This, like I said, allows for easy identification of where a call is coming from, but there's some things that we still cannot do with our current phone system, which was purchased used how many years ago?
Well, used when the reconstruction happened.
So it's outdated and
1871.
it's outdated and needs to be completely upgraded to be fully compliant, which is a law, and there's a grant for it we can talk about in a little while. So these are just some of the things we spent money on. We also I put in for some door alarms. They're not fancy or elaborate, but they do make a noise, and they're not for every door in the building, but we have a few kind of older tucked away side and back doors that kids sometimes slip in and out of. But if you were to prop the door open and one of these alarms was on, you'd know the door was ajar and somebody would hear a sound and be able to go close it. So just kind of helping us to tighten up security and make sure we don't have kids or adults or anyone entering or exiting the school without our knowledge. So like I said, we have, for our major entrances and exits, we have cameras. We have cameras on all the doors, but some of the doors which are a little more discreet, there are definitely areas where kids sometimes slip in and out. So that's another thing. And we also, Nate wanted me to share that there's Nate Gingras wanted me to share that the E911 grant is due in early October. And that is a grant with a 50% match from the school that would allow for schools to get fully E911 compliant. And right now what that means is it would be a full upgrade to the phone system, phones would be, if you dialed out to 911, they would be identifiable. You'd have to be able to do an all call from any phone in the school, so any teacher could get on the loudspeaker system and alert people of an emergency. Currently that's not possible. There are only like 4 or 5 phones in the building that you can do that from. So in an emergency you just have to hope somebody is at one of them. One of them's the main office phone, Eric's phone, my phone, Kelly Jarvis's phone. There might be one in the guidance office.
Yes, I think Sally's does.
So
I thought Briggs does, but it doesn't. I tried.
yeah, so 5 phones in the whole building where you can make an emergency alert isn't cutting it. And the only way to upgrade that is to actually upgrade the whole phone system, because the phone system we have right now doesn't have the capacity. The way it would be for our school is it's a 50% match. But Nate said that if your cost for an upgrade for your whole building is large, you can petition the state and say it's a financial hardship, and they might chip in more towards the grant for you.
It's a state grant.
I believe it's a state grant. It comes from the Department of Public Safety. And it's a.
Can the match be in-kind services or no?
That would be cool, but probably not. I think they want money.
Can somebody run some cable?
What services? Oh, okay.
Okay.
So, I mean, Nate gave me a kind of a tentative quote for this building. The middle and high school is about $50,000 if we were to pay for the full upgrade. If we were to get the grant, they would pay 25, we would pay 25. Maybe they would pay a little more if we said, we're in a tough spot, you know, budget's tight. We might be able to get them to cover a little more of the cost. The risk we run if we keep kicking this further down the line is we can't always, there won't always be a grant, and eventually we're gonna be on the hook. If we were to do elementary, middle, high school, and Cold Hollow all at once, we're looking at about 120, he said. And it was an upgrade that would have to happen over the summer because it would require the phone systems to be disabled for some time.
So that's a question I have about funding for
Yeah.
this, like the matching part. Are we talking FY19 summer this year, or could this roll into FY20 where you could budget forward for this match?
Let me check the email Nate sent me and I can tell you, but maybe I can't.
Sometimes with the grants, they have to be completed within.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So I got a couple other questions for you.
Yeah, I may not be able to answer all of them, but yeah.
So we had talked before about upgrading the Wi-Fi. And does it make sense to upgrade the phone system at the same time you're upgrading the Wi-Fi system, or Wi-Fi at the same time you're doing the phone system?
Can you bundle?
And are you still, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Can the company do the same?
yeah, and so, and he's getting the estimate, this would still be through Fairpoint?
This would be through Fairpoint or Twin State is the agency that would sell us the equipment.
Okay.
Fairpoint is who we have our internet and networking and
Has he
services
ever
through.
looked at Comcast?
We do have Comcast. We have Comcast for our
Sorry,
internet.
Comcast.
So, and when we talk about upgrading Wi-Fi, it's not the Wi-Fi speed necessarily that has to be upgraded. It's the hubs that have to be upgraded. It's the physical devices that computers are connecting to.
Okay.
That's the piece, and that is a whole different contracted system. It really doesn't have much to do with Comcast or Twin State or anything like that. It's more of an actual tech supply thing.
Has he looked at Comcast also?
Yeah, I believe so. And look again, I'm not entirely sure what Comcast has to offer in terms of the hubs that are required, but they're.
No, I meant.
For
So
phones?
for the
I
phones,
don't
it
know.
would go, I mean, you'd bid it, but most likely the local companies who would put in a bid would be Fairpoint or Comcast. And
Those are your
and
only two
Twin
options,
State.
right?
Right, there's, Nate said there's a company out of Brattleboro that's done some work with schools, but they're not, they've never really put in bids up here because they're not local, and so if there were an issue, you'd have to wait for, like, they'd have to drive several hours, and people up
We
here
just
don't
had our
wanna
phones
pay.
done this summer.
Did he talk to you about the lease option as well?
He did not.
Okay.
No. So it's just kind of something to be aware of. The thing he's waiting on is the reason I listed it as a possible, I don't even know if I'm allowed to do that, but as a possible action item is, unless you guys agree to foot the bill for 25
Right.
grand, then there's no point in writing the grant.
Correct.
Because
We need to support it.
right, either, like it's a huge grant to write. I mean, they all are, you have to jump through so many hoops.
Right.
So if we're, there's not a point in writing it if we're not, if the board isn't gonna match the funds. But, I know Michelle had some safety questions of her own for her building, and, safety's a big issue right now. So it's, it has to be a conversation of where the right place for that money to go is. He also thinks that there will be another E911 grant
I was gonna
in the
say.
spring.
Okay.
Thanks. So we
Thanks,
can, probably there will be, hopefully, but we can't always count on there
Right.
being a grant. But he thinks because of the current climate in the state and
Right.
the need for upgrades for safety,
Right.
we're in a place where they're probably gonna keep offering it.
And so they have to run wires, because the wires we have are obsolete,
Yeah.
is that?
I think that for the phones, that might be part of it. It's a lot of it is the actual devices.
Yeah, it's the phone,
you know,
physically the phone.
These phones were bought used, and I think were new in like '96 or '97, something like that. And so there's no replacement for them. They're not. Once these phones go, they go, and they're starting to. Like I can see my little screen on the phone, it flickers and goes out, and it's crackling all
I think
over the
there
place.
is quite
They
a bit of
crackle and we
wiring as
lose
well,
calls.
Oh, that's the.
That is what it-
That's
Yeah.
the big lines, because ours are doing it too.
Oh,
Is
fine.
it? Yeah.
That happened like 4 times today.
I mean, that's crackling and flashing screens is not as concerning to me as you know the other pieces of
How many
being able
phones do
to.
you have?
I mean,
bunch.
add
One per classroom,
and then
every office.
After
every-
we had our phones redone, the caller ID at my house said Fairfield School when you called. They had the wrong school.
Well, I mean, some of this may just need a lot of like priority conversation. I mean, I
Yes.
think Michelle was talking about the keyed access or the electronic access, and I mean that is another
That's another
piece.
safety thing.
We've talked about the keys. I know of a place where the community key lies for our school, and those things, you know, are concerning. You know that these keys are out and about, and so. You know, having electronic access where we can, like, you know, just open up the gym space for the coaches and everything is way safer than the keys.
So the safety grant, the 14,000, that's combined high school and middle,
Yeah, we had to write it for both.
both.
We tried not to, but sometimes they think we're separate schools and sometimes they think we're not.
right.
So, and it's only when it's gonna be extra complicated
That
that
they
they
make
pick
it
one or
work.
the other.
It's like the
So
villages of town.
Right, that's what they do.
Okay. So the door buzzers and sleeves, was that all the 14?
And the patches.
And the patches?
Yes.
That took care of it?
Including installation in the monthly cost.
Okay, and then, do we have a quote on what the key thing would cost?
No, that wasn't,
I don't know if
that
it's-
wasn't in this
but
grant,
it's
that would be,
not gonna be
that's what
cheap.
Michelle.
But you
wrote.
would think that the phones obviously would trump the key.
I don't know.
I don't know the answer to that. I think you could argue both ways.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you can reliably say, we can have this E911 conversation in the spring.
I think you could reliably say that too.
I don't know what I don't think we should wait too long.
Yeah, no, exactly.
But yeah, I think they all have benefits and,
Right.
you know, what's the thing that's gonna make the school the safest? I don't know the answer to that.
So I'm gonna add a little layer of complexity to the discussion.
Yeah.
This year's money, you have control over.
What do you mean?
Next year's money, budgeting,
Oh, you
it
don't.
could
If we
potentially be a
merge.
different board making decisions about
Correct.
your budget for next year. Just thought I would throw that layer into the conversation.
So that-
Same thing, so if we apply for the grant now,
I do think it's next year's, the E911. I don't think it's this year's money.
You may want to consider how tight your margins are as well.
Right.
True.
Yep.
Is my other
Yeah.
one.
I don't wanna speak for, but I don't have that in the email, but I
So-
feel like Nate and I had that conversation.
And are they coming around with another school safety grant next year, or was that like a one-time money?
We don't know.
Oh,
We don't know
okay.
about the school safety thing. We do know that they've offered the E911 grant in the past.
Right.
And it's likely to be offered again in the spring.
Okay.
I don't know how long they're gonna continue to offer it. There may be an endpoint to,
so if we had a school safety audit,
Oh,
yes.
have we?
yeah.
Yes.
We,
I did the
ah,
visit.
yeah,
Yes,
so
we
you
had
had
a bit- it
law
was- it
enforcement in
was-
every building.
5.5 years ago now, but yes, I mean, not much has changed structurally since then.
So what do they identify as the top 3 things?
Our doors,
Okay,
that meaning the keyed access on all
Okay.
these doors, that we can't lock them quickly or easily. Windows are always going to be an issue for us. We can't do anything about it, but
Okay.
we're not really secure from the outside due to the windows. and I don't remember what the third was.
Well, I'm gonna tell you through Alice training and what I'm getting from our school safety liaison at the state level is that ability to communicate throughout your building if there's a critical incident occurring.
Yeah.
You don't want just one or two people to have control of being able to disseminate that information. So if something were to go down by the music room and only the people in that part of the building know it and can see it, they have no way of sharing that information with the rest of the building where those minutes would matter to be able to do an all-call if they had access to a phone to say this is happening down here, which would give Rachel's whole middle school the opportunity to get out and get safely to a rally point somewhere else. So they're pushing really hard about the communication aspect and having the ability to have multiple ways to talk within your building.
We had an extension that everybody could call, and it went to one phone that was manned, like the red phone, basically. And if that rang, it went to automatic lockdown. So that you wouldn't necessarily come on the intercom.
So everybody has a red phone?
So it was like the light
Looks
said
like
light,
that phone.
the red phone.
That phone.
That number.
So it was
But
like-
how's that communicated to everybody then?
So it would go to, let's say it would go to your office or somebody, an office, like it would go to probably Deb
But-
Shover, and it would go into, we're in automatic lock.
But
So that's
what
the
if Jen-
difference for
That's
us
what
is
it
that
is.
we're not wanting people to go in an automatic lockdown. We want it to be an enhanced lockdown.
Right.
So the information
Right.
part is what allows you to choose the
The
option.
Yeah.
options that you have.
Right.
So you can say there's an intruder in the, entered through the
Right.
gym and they're wearing this and they're carrying this and they're moving towards the library. And then
Right.
everybody hears that and can make a decision
Decision.
that's the safest for them based on where they are and
Right.
what they know.
Which is pretty different than how we have practiced historical lockdowns where it's
Right.
sit tight, wait.
Right.
Yeah.
Your best option with this research is that if you can evacuate, as soon as it appears to be safe for you to evacuate,
Yeah.
that's the most
Right.
successful option.
So I think we need to incorporate that into whatever phone system.
Yeah, and any upgrade we would get would have
The
that
cap-
capacity to do
Okay.
an all-call through the whole building. And that's kind of that's the
But-
big thing we lack.
But is the all, see, so I don't know if the all-call is the same as, I don't know what all-call means.
So all-call means you can get on the loudspeaker and communicate
Okay,
to the whole building from wherever you are.
okay, and it'll come through that phone?
Yeah,
through-
you can be
through
able
the
to,
loudspeaker.
you should be able to be in any room, office, pick up a phone, push a button and say, there's an intruder, and everyone in the school will be able to hear you.
Okay,
You could
That's also a
say-
difference in our
Boy, that's
plan. It
gonna
used
be
to be quiet, right?
Temptation there
Pretend
for
we're
some
not here, but
students.
now it's
Yeah, well,
share the information.
Right,
Yeah,
right, right.
but I also think students are very, like, there are some kids who might, make a joke or something, but I feel like even with middle school kids, when we've approached, like, really heavy topics like this and said, like, this is about safety and this is about, like, we're telling you this information because it might save your life someday. Like, when we've presented information like that, they're serious about it. And like, there was a worry when we got those lockdown magnets so that we can easily lock the doors in the classrooms that, would kids like jokingly lock a teacher out or do, like, they've never ever done it because they recognize that this is there for their safety. So they're not going to do anything to abuse or misuse that tool because that's what it's about. So I feel like they'll be really respectful of it, and I think they would use the information in a safe way if they had it. I trust our kids. I think they would do that.
And then there'll be one. But then you'll deal with it, and then that will happen.
Right. So there's
There's always one.
Those Rico kids.
Exactly.
I know.
That's exactly what it was.
So I should go,
it's not the one I was worried about.
Kind of.
the one you worry about. Anyway, it's
Okay.
just, I don't know, like, we might not be ready to make a decision on this today, which is fine, but I think it's something that we have to think about is what direction
But
do we
could-
go? And it's gonna be a chunk of money. It's gonna be
Right.
25,000 or, like, these things aren't cheap. So,
But don't we kind of have to, because the grants due by the beginning of October?
or,
Your next board meeting is October 9th, so that does not leave you a lot of time to write if that, what did you say that grant was due?
Let me check and make sure I have the date
18.
right.
And if we apply for one, it doesn't exclude us from applying for later ones, correct?
I don't
It
think
usually
so.
puts you at the, oh, if you apply and don't get it,
I think you could still apply
Correct.
again to the next one. I
Yeah.
don't see why not.
But does it put you in a different,
category if you get, sometimes if it's within the same agency, so if there was another safety grant and it's through the same, it sometimes will move you down the order. But
Yeah.
either way, we need it.
Yeah. Yeah, the date I have here is October 18th. I think that's what Nate told me is the due date.
I don't know, what do you think? Phones or doors? Phones or doors?
well, and is this grant up to, is there a limit?
There's no limit, there's just the school is gonna have to match, like a 50% match. So we could ask for some Cadillac system that costs,
But we're paying half.
90,000,
Yeah.
but you'll be on the hook for 45 then.
And we're sure it's the one that he's
So-
looking at is like 50?
Yes, so he said for a whole upgrade for our system is looking about 50.
For this physical building?
For this
not
physical
Cold
building,
Hollow.
not including elementary and Cold Hollow. He says there's merits to upgrading all at once because everyone's on the same system at the same time.
What's the status at Cold Hollow? Can you all call now? Can you?
Yes.
You
And
can,
we
so
did-
you're
So
set.
we did it, like, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, we had it
Upgrade.
fixed.
So it might be worthwhile to include Cold Hollow when you're
Agreed.
doing this.
But the problem in our building is not every room has a phone.
Yeah.
So that's still an
That
issue.
seems like an easier fix, though, maybe not?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I would think
I don't know.
if it doesn't have a phone, it needs wires.
So I think that the 911 grant that they're asking for wouldn't fund the door thing, so I don't think
No,
the question is
it's
about
not, you
access points for
can't,
you
yeah.
guys.
This E911
Right.
grant is only for getting phones and communication systems in schools to
Right.
compliant.
I was
So I
just
think-
thinking of, are we gonna spend our money on the match, or are we gonna spend our money on the door system? That's kind of what I was thinking. But,
That's a fair point.
so.
And again, that you might be able to have this conversation again in the spring when the next E911 grant is available.
Right.
So, if you're looking for guidance,
We can't act without your approval.
what I would like is more of an overall comprehensive plan.
Okay.
So, we really need a communication system that the schools, or at least everybody in the school that can communicate. We need that. Do we want cameras here? Do we want, and come up with your whole safety plan what you need.
Okay.
And then we can probably work at it from there maybe. So start at
So-
the top and,
So if we were to bring forth everything that would need to be done to help improve safety in the building
yeah,
Right.
and some quotes.
right. I haven't participated in any of the Alice trainings, but for me, keeping somebody out is probably, I think you can build walls and everything and
They
it's
just
never
aren't
gonna
gonna
work.
get in. So
It's
maybe the phones are at the
focusing more on what
Your
happens if you
response.
do
Yeah,
have somebody that gets
You're
in the
right.
building.
so when you
And-
saying that makes me wanna do the phones.
Yeah.
Let's do the phones.
Well, I think, but I want, in this grant, I'd like, I don't know if just phones, or do you want to incorporate cameras to your little safety room, that you
I
have
don't
somebody
think that's
there
part
that
of this
said,
grant, though.
Yeah,
this guy is
this-
now headed
this-
to,
So
This is
this
just
grant is
phones.
only phones.
this is only
Only
phones.
This is only phone,
E911
only
compliance grant.
E911
Okay.
It's
compliance grant.
possible, maybe what Rachel
Right.
shared that you already received,
Yeah.
that was a school security grant where we had a broader,
Yeah, you could do
broader
anything
things
with
to
it.
choose from.
Okay.
There's the
So
potential-
maybe there'll be another one of those. We have no idea.
So this is just phone systems?
Just
Yes.
Okay. Any other communication devices, or just phones?
I think it's
Walkie-talkies?
just phones.
Okay.
Because it literally, in the title, it is E911 compliance grant.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that, I mean, I haven't read the
So,
rationale.
I-
but
It's it's limiting, because, Michelle had also brought up a question about, well, could that money be used for like a door, like installing a door where there isn't a door in her building. I'm like, well, I think it's phones.
Okay.
Just the way it's written.
So now I guess we've kind of hashed that through. I think we should pursue it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I move to pursue the grant.
Wait.
Did you get that on camera?
Oh, well, we can only do, you're just writing it for the Enosburg, we can't do all the schools,
Well, we could write it,
or can we?
Well, you are this is a town school district, so you
Right.
can include
Any
as
building.
Okay.
many of these buildings as you want.
but it sounds like Michelle's, the elementary school has capacities
That
that
we
these
don't.
buildings do not.
Yeah.
So they can get in, they can all call, whereas they can't.
So what if you wrote the
But they can't all
grant?
call because you don't have phones at all.
Well, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
What if that is, if it's an allowable option, we include the extra phones?
Yep.
For Michelle, but
We can do a count.
Right, we do the cold hollow and E EFMHS.
So we do the updating for your buildings, and if allowable, to add hardware phones to Michelle's building. That's my movement.
Good movement.
Do I have a
Is
second?
there a second on that? All those in
Second.
favor of it?
All right.
Aye.
Thank you.
And I would just say that if we catch a break on tuition kids in the next 2 months, we'll come to you and tell you where the match is gonna come from. And if we don't, we're gonna be looking to you guys to tell us where the match is gonna come from
Okay.
for that grant.
Because we don't have
Because the
that
budget is set.
set. But but you're saying it's next year,
It
or
could-
it could be.
I will
Okay,
find
can I
that
put
out.
that
Figure that out.
caveat in the
Yeah, we
motion?
need to know that.
Granted, if the money comes from the next, the next
FY20.
2020 budget. That's kind of the caveat, right?
I will tell Nate, and I can email the board tomorrow with the answer to that.
Okay.
My last thing, and I will be very brief with this, I think it was in your packet, is the middle and high school continuous improvement plan. So it's the exact same format as Michelle's. We can do the same thing, which is give you some time to read it, and we can act on it next time. But so Eric and I have 3 goals in here. A goal related to academic proficiency, a goal related to personalization, which is flexible pathways, personalized learning plans, incorporates things like dual enrollment and things like that. And then safe and healthy schools, which is related to climate and improving student kind of experience, voice, et cetera, in the building. So like Michelle said, there's subcategories and goals for each of those areas. This was another thing where the state makes us write one plan. So some of the statements in this relate specifically to the high school, but we can't specify which ones on this document. And some relate specifically to the middle school, and some are things that both schools do kind of in tandem. For example, restorative justice is something both schools are working on. And tier 2 instruction is another thing both schools are working on. However, we can't disseminate that on this because on this document, we're one unit. And on some other ones, we're 2. Like I said, it's whatever the state's pleasure is in that moment, and there doesn't seem to be a large rationale for why they do that to
One
us.
thing I want to add to the CIP discussion is that historically, we have been required through consolidated federal grants to always have a multi-year action plan in place. So you've been on the board long enough where you've seen action plans come through. This is the new version of action plan, but we've tried to approach this work not as a grant compliance task because that's rough to go through a process like this and just have it be about grant compliance. So we've really tried to look at it through the lens of what are our goals for our organization and not thinking through the lens of just in terms of how we're spending our grant money. So that's what we spent a lot of time working with the principals last spring and this summer, and through our work with the district management group this summer to look at what are our overarching goals for the organization and how does that all tie together how we're spending our local money, our grant money, and other money in this process. So even though this was a task that we had to do because of consolidated federal grants, we tried to look at it truly through the continuous improvement lens of what's best for the organization. So know that it's not just a grant-specific task.
So anyway, that's there for you to read. So again, same exact format as Michelle's. And then I only had just a note about open house when this meeting was going to be before open house, but now it's after, so people came.
I did. It was very active.
And I didn't put this in my notes, but I also had a Teacher of the Year this year, Amber Farnham, who's the 6th grade math and science teacher. Next week on Monday, we go to the ceremony at UVM, so well-deserved. She's incredible. She is. I'm done. But I did a lot of stuff for both of us, so you should have less now.
It's all you.
So then, I guess I will begin by thanking my professional and thorough colleague who has thoroughly covered my butt by presenting the CIP here. I completely forgot to put that on my agenda. And I also want to thank Rachel for all the work she did with this grant work. This was all pretty much Rachel really tracking all this stuff down. So she's really on the ball with it. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
My stuff is largely informational. My first bullet point, though, when I wrote this, I thought I had everything ready to go to send home to our 9th grade parents around their grades and how we converted them from lift and proficiencies into an actual grade. Then I realized that some of our teachers who had left us over the year had not. I thought they had submitted some grades for us and then they hadn't, so I've been having to scramble to reach out to them to finalize. I don't want to send a half-baked product out to parents and have them be confused and whatnot. So I'm hoping to have all of that actually done by tomorrow so that I can send that out, and then there will be a process by which students and parents that have any questions or concerns of how we derived that grade can kind of appeal to me, and I'll do what I need to do to
Yep.
make it work. So that was probably the muddiest part of this whole transition between what we were doing last year to what we're doing now. So.
What, finalizing the grades?
Yeah, well, trying to convert the grades from kids who didn't
Yeah.
have any last year into something that
Just-
works
right.
in our system this year.
Right.
And going forward. We want to make sure that we err on the side of kids in each
Yeah.
one of these things. So we're definitely trying to do that as much as possible.
Right.
Other than that, the only other potential discussion topic, which was a little hotter a couple weeks ago, was the property that borders the soccer field, Val's property over here, next to the snack shack. We were having a lot of people walking through that yard, and she had reached out, I know, to central office. She reached out to folks here. I had left a message with her, just letting her know that I would, work with her, talk with her, whatever. I haven't heard anything back from her, but I did know that she had asked about it being time for there potentially to be a fence or something along those lines. We did, warn all of our kids again. We put up some just kind of, temporary border type things out there, but I just wanted you guys to be in the know that conversation is out there. I don't know if it'll come back around again.
So I'm speaking with a different hat. I chair of the Development Review Board, and the snack shack had to come before the Development Review Board. And you might want to check the permit, because I almost think a fence was in the conditions.
Of that, really?
And I think so. Right. Yeah, but we can chat, and I'll take a look, because I have the decision.
Okay.
But I almost feel like, because that came up at the meeting about, very much in support of, however, there should be some clear boundaries. And I remember that part of the conditions was downcast lighting, and I almost feel like there was a fence boundary brought up, but I'll check into that.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So that might be part of the permit.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, since the last meeting, I was able to sort of reconnect with two retired driver's ed teachers, Kathy Broderick and Rick Lansing, again, to kind of sweeten some deals and whatnot. And now I'm running two, 12 student driver's ed courses, one during the day, one after school. Hoping that we'll be able to do it next semester as well. That's just how, if these individuals remain happy doing what they're doing. So we shall see. I'm still looking for a full-time driver's ed teacher in the meantime. So.
Again, another plug, if you know anyone looking for a career change, this would be a great place for someone to look.
Have you ever wanted to drive in a car with an unlicensed driver?
That's a great selling point. I say.
I have like the perfect candidate, but it would require them to get a license, and that's a pretty big undertaking to do that. But
So there's two pathways
Yeah,
to
you
that.
can do
You
the-
don't have to do the ed licensing piece. You could
right,
go
the DMV
right
route.
through the DMV route. You don't have to worry about having a teaching.
Which they're pretty comparable in the classes that you have to take, I think. It's just the
I'm
licensing.
not
you have
100%
to
sure.
take.
Right now, this is going to
I
be
know
a
what
little
to do.
Yes,
tangential,
sorry.
but because of my work at the VSBPE, I know that there's only one program for drivers to get licensed in education for driver's education, and that is through I'm blanking now. It's the New Hampshire University.
Oh,
SNHU.
SIU.
Yeah, no, it's not that one.
Oh.
It's Keene State.
Oh.
And so.
Really?
Yeah, and it's an online program. That's the only thing. There's nothing in Vermont. So, and there's some
crazy.
hiccups as well that have to be cleaned up because the Keene State program is a 17 credit program, and you have to have 18 credits
Yeah.
in Vermont to be licensed
Right.
for an endorsement area. We've also seen a number of waiver requests for people who are not licensed or have a bachelor's degree to do driver's education because they have experience in X, Y, and Z.
Right.
And so I, at some point, I think in the near future, the board will be taking up whether or not driver's ed needs to be a fully licensed, like education license, just
Right.
given the shortage that we have in the state of Vermont. But that's just that side piece. Before I just do that quick action item, just the one other personnel piece. When we last met, I did not have a health teacher. I was able to hire one the day before school started, Amy Kuntz. Amy was an SAP counselor at St. Albans Town School. She was able to obtain a provisional license, and we were able to hire her and fill a giant hole that was left to us at the very end of the summer. And then the only action item I have is Rachel Sherman's request to take 2 unpaid days of leave in order to attend her sister's wedding. Her letter is attached.
I move.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That'll do it for me.
It's 2.5. 2.5. Me?
See you, and no pressure, but I'm on duty in 15 minutes.
And I'm gonna fake a heart attack, so let's have it.
All right, so I'll give it to you as quick as I can, but it's not a little agenda. So I'm gonna pass this out. You can choose to spend less time on it if you wish. You could take it with you if you wish. We could talk about it next time. At our September meeting, I gave you information about experience level, and I don't know why I chose to bring less this time. I apologize. Experience level of teachers in our supervisory union organized by school. So I told you I would bring additional information about anyone who's left our organization. We've done a survey to try to get a sense of why they're leaving FNESU. So this is another attempt on my behalf to make sure that boards are informed about difficulty we're having in terms of attracting and retaining teachers. I know Morgan has some data I'm hoping that we can project up there. he took a look as a result of going through this. He took a look at what point in time in a teacher's career are they most likely to leave FNESU, and I know he looked at over the past several years since we have had our common accounting system, when people are most likely to leave. So I'll let you just attend to that data for now while he projects this.
Wow.
That's shocking, that's surprising to me.
Are you looking at what?
The, which option best describes why you left? That's surprising.
You know what is in the other category?
Yeah, what's in the other?
It was just, I don't
literally
know why
other.
I said other, because it was not helpful at all to collect other data and not know what that was.
Yeah.
And I see that everybody was from 2018, did the people from previous get the survey or
So
no?
we sent it electronically.
Oh.
I don't believe that, I don't think that it's gotten to them. We talked about doing it snail mail, last known
Right.
address.
Yeah, okay.
It just, we haven't gotten it. So we'll be looking here forward, doing this every year to kind of track some consistent data about teacher retention.
Interesting. But you know, I almost feel like compensation and geographical location go together, because I think what we're doing is we're getting Chittenden County newbies who wouldn't make the commute if compensation was higher. Do you know what I'm saying?
So what's interesting is that we continue to hear from our colleagues that in Chittenden County,
Yeah.
they don't hire the same teachers that we do, because they have the luxury of hiring teachers with more experience. So teachers we've suspected are coming here, and I heard it at new teacher orientation this year, a group of teachers talking about, yeah, you don't even get an interview unless you've worked at least 5 years in the school.
Right.
So I mean, they're similar. We had some, going into giving this survey, I had some gut instincts about what this would tell us about why. There were some surprises, but then there were some, yeah, I kind of figured.
Yeah, so I almost feel like those are tied
Yeah.
together a little bit. Interesting. I'm surprised at the 8.
For leadership?
Yeah, that is surprising to me.
These are any of the schools, did you keep track, did you break it down by school
I
at all?
can, I haven't done it yet, to be completely honest. Because I just was trying to disseminate broad data across the organization. But I do have the capacity to go in and sort by school, to see
Okay.
if there's a trend there.
Because that one surprises me a lot.
Mhm.
That one does surprise me a little bit. Maybe it shouldn't, I don't know, maybe it's normal.
It
I
doesn't,
don't
because
know.
one thing you need to also tune into is that not everyone who leaves is always leaving
Yeah,
because they wanted to.
yeah,
So then,
even though that was 0.
right.
Yeah, okay, got it, check.
You know, I'm not saying that's the only reason. I
Yeah.
don't want to discount that
Okay.
piece, but
Interesting. You know what would also be interesting? And this happened is, sometimes you make less money, but the end's higher. So sometimes you go with a cut, but you know over time you'll make more. You know what I'm saying?
in terms of how, if it's a step structure,
Correct. Which probably will change drastically in the future anyway, but, so it's interesting, you know, I was offered less money but it might be, they were offered less money at the time, but over time they'll make more.
well, I also wonder if that was someone who left the field of education.
Oh, right, that would make
The way-
sense.
Morgan, do you want to tune us into the data that you're showing us here?
Sure, so we looked at the last, I
Weird.
think it's 4 years, since we switched over to our new HR software. And this is the number of years within FNASU when teachers left over those last 4 years. So you'll see that most of the teachers left after being here for 1 or 2 years. And it drops off pretty significantly, and then those outliers all the way to the right are the folks who basically spent their whole careers here and then retired. But you'll see, it kind of reinforces what we all feel we know, is that it's year 1, year 2 are the 2 big ones, and then 3 and 4, and that's when we're losing teachers to the big leagues and then replacing them with folks that we're going to lose in 2 or 3 years.
So part of, I think, the important part of us going into negotiation is understanding what's the dilemma, what are the root causes associated, and identifying the target group. I mean, that data is pretty clear to me, that the group that's most likely to leave is in years 1 to 4. So the question becomes to me, what strategies can we think about to retain some of those teachers and to keep them here in FNESU? So it's all data. You can walk away with this data, and you can consider this data as we move forward in this process. But I wanted everybody to be armed with the information.
Interesting. Lots of health insurance, which sounds like that might be a moot point later.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Huh.
So I want to say there are a couple places in there where I redacted some information, just to be completely transparent. If the person provided a comment that identified who they were, I took it out. I left the part that wasn't identifiable. If it identified something specific about a specific leader, I took that part out. Can I clarify what you said about your duty in 15 minutes? Are you leaving if you get a call, or?
Yeah, I leave if I get a call in 5
Okay.
minutes.
So do you want me to keep going, or do you want to spend more time talking about this?
I think for me, I think we can look through this and get our wheels turning and think about ideas of, right? Are you feeling that way?
Sure.
Okay.
So if you want to, we can bring it back. I can put it on my list to talk about at the next meeting.
Right.
Do you want to do that?
Yep. See if we have any ideas.
But when are we doing when are we doing the
We won't start before then. It'll be this fall. Most likely, we'll start later this fall.
the negotiation thing, right? So Morgan has it.
So yeah, I don't know when that initial meeting is.
Oh, the
gonna be
doodle
yet.
poll thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that'll be, I think most of those days are after your next meeting.
Yeah, I don't think they even
Regular
started
schedule.
until after the next meeting, I don't think.
Okay, true. All right.
I didn't get the question at first, Rick.
But,
Sorry.
yeah, we're not expecting that first negotiations meeting to come out of there.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna keep going. Next week, no, sorry, not next week. A couple weeks from now, October 18th and 19th is the annual Vermont Superintendent Association, Vermont School Boards Association Fall Conference. It's a really great conference. I sent you a link in your board packet of the conference overview. So if there's anyone interested from the board in attending that conference, we have professional development money in your budget to go do that. I would strongly encourage you to participate if you can. That's a great learning opportunity, helps you to network with other VSBA members, and some of the leaders of your organization, do some professional development. I'll be there for day 1. Day 2, I'll be back here for in-service. But we have Mary Niles from Montgomery will be attending, and Jean Marie Clark from Bakersfield will also be attending. So we're gonna be projecting again in a little bit, just so you know.
Get
Our
back.
next part. So is there anybody, the 3 of you, that is interested at all,
I
thinking about
have
going?
parent-teacher conferences on the 18th and the 19th.
Okay, so
18th.
you're a big no.
I think I'm a big no. That would be, I would miss that all.
Yeah,
Right.
it's in Lake Maury,
Yeah.
so it's a couple hours away.
Yeah.
So you can also just, if you are interested, just shoot Doreen an email, myself or Doreen, and we can get you registered if you decide that you want to do it. So at that annual meeting, the SU board voted to have Jean Marie Clark vote on your behalf at the annual VSBA meeting. And there are resolutions. Actually, can I stop for a minute because I'm looking through at what I have ahead, and with the exception of my number 6, which would be something Eric would be interested in.
Say that again,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
I almost think we can release others if you're,
Oh,
if you
yeah.
guys are okay with it.
I
Yeah.
remembered why.
You're welcome to stay, but you don't have to,
You can have it, it's I'd like a
because
copy
the
at some point.
resolutions are going to be lengthy.
Goodbye.
Okay?
And good.
So you tell me I have to stay?
Yep, you don't have to, because
After
he
school.
actually doesn't have to. We've already talked about this
Yeah.
in
That's fine,
terms of
either
the
way.
school choice,
Yeah.
the school choice system for high schools.
Remember we had that
They-
conversation
Yeah, no, I-
Do you
at
have
the
a,
policy.
do you have a copy of this?
I don't.
So that is not to get, I'm not asking administrators to keep that. The
Okay.
boards, it's not, it shouldn't be released widely.
This,
Yeah,
so you want it back?
yeah.
Really gonna look at it.
That's why I want to go.
Yes.
Let me see, can I see it just for a minute?
Okay.
Somebody,
Must approve.
None of my core staff left, so.
no, mine either.
All right, I'm gonna keep going. So we're gonna go through the resolutions.
Okay.
And if you're okay, I'll take that out of order so we can get to the next part.
That's some weird shit. Like that one.
There's also a VHI Visbit annual meeting. There's not much on their agenda this year, but you have proxies that you need to give to someone who will be at that meeting, or you can delegate the VHI Visbit boards to vote on your behalf at the annual meeting. So,
So what would they be deciding?
So at the VSBIT board, they're gonna be electing 2 board members. Both races are uncontested.
Okay.
At the VHI meeting, they're really just going to be accepting the reports from the last year. Because when the budget bill was passed, one of the provisions was basically restructuring the VHI board to give the teachers union more seats at the table.
Right, I heard that.
And so the membership of VHI doesn't get to vote on its board members anymore.
Oh,
Which
okay.
is what it was in the past.
Okay,
So there's really nothing going on at that meeting.
okay. Then I think I can give the board authority.
to give the proxies back to VHI Visbit board.
Yes.
Okay.
So then the motion would be
What you sent me last week.
to appoint as its true and lawful attorney the Board of Directors of the Vermont School Board Insurance Trust by majority vote with the power of substitution for it and its name to vote at the annual meeting of the Vermont School Board Insurance Trust to be held on the 19th day of October 2018 or at any adjournment thereof with all the powers it should possess if personally present through its authorized representative.
Did you get all that, Amanda?
And our authorized representative is the VHI board.
The board.
Correct.
That's the VSBIT one.
Okay.
And then we'll do the same thing for the VHI.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Yep.
Motion.
Move,
Second.
aye.
All those in favor?
Then you just need a separate vote for VHI, but it's the same motion.
All right, so that was for
Okay.
VSBID. Now we're doing for VHI. Motion.
I moved.
Second.
Oh, second, oh, yeah, yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
So I want to skip the resolutions and come back, if that's okay with you, because those are a little long. Yes. So we thought there was going to be, we took a look at the draft articles of, the default draft articles of agreement
Okay.
under Act 46.
Yeah.
And what it says is board membership. So if we were to merge,
Right.
board membership falls to the chair and the clerk of the existing board become the 2 members that go to the new board. So we thought there could potentially be an opportunity for us to say, do you still want to be the clerk? Does someone else want to be the clerk? Do you still want to be the chair? However, the language it said July 1st. As of July 1st, those are the people whoever was in the seat of chair and clerk become the new members. Now, know that that's just until March, and then
Until
you
you
have,
get reelected, have to do
right,
the
you have an
re-election.
election, you have a.
So
vote
if
election in
the,
March.
so if the state plan comes out in November, it would be Richford's chair and clerk, Enosburg's chair and clerk until March.
Right. And then you have that time to figure out what you're gonna do with articles of agreement. So if you the default articles, I think they would end up with 2 board members for each town, but if you guys came to agreement and wanted to use the articles that were presented when we proposed our plan, that was 3 members for each
Right.
community. So if that is approved, you'd be electing 3 instead of 2. So that's
And well, it's all pretty weird. The other weirdness of it is that, so you've got this 4-member board that's really reviewing the transition. If you want to have a discussion about different articles, that's going to go back to the same 706 process that we used for the initial studies. So Enosburg would have to have, current Enosburg board would select the people to go to that committee to discuss the bylaws, and that body has to be proportional. So it's
Proportional,
likely
okay.
gonna be 4 from Enosburg, 3 from Richford, coming together and deciding if they can agree on other articles.
So when you say make changes, do you mean changes from the default or changes from the ones
Changes
we
from
came
the
up with?
default.
From the default, okay.
Or, I mean, that would be up to the committee, but
Right.
you have 90 days, 60 days?
So the 4,
60 days
so the.
from when the plan drops to get your voter approval for those articles of agreement. If not, yeah, you land on the default.
And you have to warn for 30.
Right.
So there's quick work to be done.
So let me just get this straight too, that you have your 2 chairs and your 2 clerks come together, and if they decide, like, we need to create new articles of agreement.
No, your 2 chairs and your 2 clerks are coming together and they're saying, we gotta warn a budget, we gotta figure out what this new district needs to get up and running. And everyone's gonna operate assuming those default articles. If the 2 school boards
Yeah.
wanna form a committee to adopt the articles that you already worked on, or
Yeah.
to come up with something
Then you
else,
have to do the 706.
they can do that, but it doesn't have to be the chair and the clerk. You could have people from the community come
Right.
in and sit on that board and do it.
Right.
And the big caveat is, this is the we think, and the state board they still haven't passed out the
Right.
Right.
draft, or the default articles.
Okay.
So I just asked about that, and it's not clear if they will land on what the actual articles of agreement will be sooner than the state plan or at the same time as the state plan, so a lot of this is kind of left
Yeah.
open. So any other questions about that?
Any idea, I mean, there's certainly rumors of lawsuits and
Yeah.
challenges, any fruition to any of that you're aware of?
Whether or not people are engaging in the lawsuits
Yeah.
and challenges? I know through the messenger that Franklin agreed to last week, or 2 weeks ago. I know that at Montgomery's last school board meeting, there was a split board, 2 members that wanted to move forward with joining the group lawsuit, and 2 members that did not. They had 4 in attendance that night. I know that there was a meeting in Montgomery on Monday, and it's a joint meeting between the select board and the school board to get input from the community about whether or not people want them to engage in the group lawsuit. So it's an attempt to get some public sentiment
Right.
about that process,
I
so.
think they'd like to pay.
To my knowledge, as of last Friday or Thursday, I had heard that there were 7 communities in the state that had joined the group lawsuit.
Okay.
I think their hope is that the lawsuit will force an injunction, which will delay in their mind, this is my understanding, is that it would delay the operational date of July 1st from being able to happen. So, I'm not sure. In terms of joining, that's what I know. In terms of,
Actually.
yeah, no
Okay.
idea. So I'm going to be bringing a timeline to you about the Act 129 Public High School Choice System
Yep.
at your next board meeting. So the
Okay.
timeline is pretty clear that in February, the board will have to make a decision about how many students you're going to allow in and out through your high school choice system. And then by March, we will have a tight deadline about students applying for public high school choice. So we'll outline all of that as per statute at our next meeting. So the process will be really clear to all of us, and it'll be all based on statute. Does that make sense?
Yeah, on that same topic, do you want to delay any of that to see if, to include Richard if we're merging, or we
It's
can do that
statute.
separate? Okay,
Yeah.
and then,
Let me back up. Yes, Richford's going to be included at their own board meeting. They'll follow the same
Okay.
timeline and guidelines
okay,
that you will, but it literally is going to be breaking down what's written out.
okay, in statute, okay. And then, limits. So I think we have almost, how many students do we have on here on 129?
I don't know offhand. I mean, we have a handful every year. I mean, under 10 every year, I would say, but we probably have double digits total.
Okay. So I think you said something last time about 35 to 40. Do we have that many?
Did I say that much? Really?
Well, I thought that's what you said.
We would take upwards of 10 is what
Total.
total for each year.
For
So,
each year.
so you could have upwards of 35 to 40
Okay,
If you got 10
if you
every
had
year.
that many each year.
okay.
Which you
I
don't.
want to say we had 6 or 7, maybe a little bit more this year. This was a higher year, but each year we get a handful of kids. And
Okay,
And it's outlined what the minimum you can allow in or out, and then the board can agree to go more than that, but not less.
okay. So marginal, any idea of marginal cost? Not very much, right?
Well,
Um,
depends.
Yeah, I would say it depends. So the downside for Enosburg, because roughly half your kids are tuition kids, is that as you add more of those kids, it reduces your allowable tuition rate. I'm gonna say it's pretty marginal if you're just looking at adding one kid. If you've got somebody who needs services that are not special ed eligible, then it's a significant cost because you, the receiving district, are eating that.
Okay.
Right.
And then just having a student here is,
You're not gonna have a
$1,000?
teacher.
I mean, just
I don't see a lot of like actual cost to your
Computer.
budget. You're not gonna get another teacher for them, you're not gonna probably be adding a whole bunch more books, right?
computer.
Computer.
And so my question to you is if all of them that we had in the high school now left tomorrow, nothing would change?
Nope.
Okay.
I mean, I'd have to know what that exact number is, but I mean, in reality, you know, our numbers, total number of student numbers are up. I mean, we're over 350 now. You know, and
The
I've
impact
got
that would
less.
have on a grade level would be minimal.
Yeah,
Right,
it
right. I've
feels-
got less staff now than I had 4 years ago, 5 years ago, when we were at 320.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so the last thing I have is resolutions.
Okay.
To review resolutions. You guys are welcome to stay or not, it's totally up to you. Morgan's going to project them. So the way we agreed at the SU meeting, because last year, I went on behalf of the board.
Right.
And
I'm just moving closer, I can't
It's
see
okay.
over my
Did
glasses.
not understand how many of these resolutions I'd be asked to weigh in on, and I had not surveyed the board. So it felt pretty uncomfortable about that.
Because you're like.
So I was surveying the local boards this time, and then had it clarified for me that there's gonna only be the one vote for the SU board. So what the SU wants me to do, I have tallied for all the boards' feedback, so we'll take the majority, these 5 boards, and Jean Marie will vote that way. So we'll start with resolution number 1. What Morgan is gonna give you is just the be it resolved part generally in for these resolutions, so you can see at the top who it's coming from. And then you'll see at the bottom, under the be it resolved, that there is a board recommendation, and that's from the VSBA Board of Directors.
Okay,
So I just need, if there are 3 of you, at least 2 of you have to say yes or no.
okay, so what's the resolution on that one? Oh,
Be it resolved part.
advantage to allow reasonable time for school districts to plan for cost, yeah.
And
sure.
so the Burlington School District is what's the?
They're the ones who
proposing.
wrote the resolution that they want the VSBA to
Look
do.
at.
Morgan, can you go down?
See the
And refrain from passing legislation that affects budgets already adopted. Hallelujah, yes.
Do I need to take?
No, I am.
Oh, I'm so stuffy.
Do we need Amanda to stay through this? Because we're literally just going to
No.
adjourn
Yeah,
after
maybe go
this.
home.
We'll just give you, we can email you an adjourn time.
Oh, that works for me.
So am I hearing yes on that?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Number 2, Morgan.
How many do we have?
17. Sorry.
17.
Come on, speed read this, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the whereas and whereas.
Okay, so promote increased federal funding of public schools
I'm going in there one second.
in the interest of national defense and in support of establishing and promoting world-class technical education, and innovate, propose, and promote that in addition to current education spending, the equivalent of 1% of the United States envelope will be dedicated or redirected to this purpose. I don't understand.
So they're asking the VSBA to petition the government to
Put 1%
1% of the
where?
military budget towards education.
Education.
Oh, yeah, I like that idea. Although it says do not pass, what's the rationale?
They didn't like it.
Other industrial nations provide significant financial, oh, they want more than 1%?
No, I think that my take is that the VSBA board thinks it, like, how can you randomly ask for 1% of
Yeah.
what the military's budget is? There should be thoughtful decisions about
Right.
what that is. I think they're trying to make a point with this resolution that more money should be spent on education
Right,
in our country.
correct.
So they're asking for us to petition, well, not petition.
It looks like the resolution is that we want.
To Congress, right?
I
Yeah.
would say.
I think they may have also just decided to take a pass on the things that were national rather than
Then
state
to
level.
actually state,
Right.
But I don't know that for sure.
I mean, yeah. Bottom of priorities, but if they can provide money for education, then yay. But- And probably would also.
No? Yes?
No.
What's yours?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure. fine.
Sorry, Polly.
No, I'm fine, no, totally fine.
All right, number 3.
Such as, let's see, to add workshops on labor management. Relationship by to demonstrate how negotiates can emphasize ways in which those boards and teacher can work together to formulate successive contracts between teachers without disenfranchising, dividing teachers, boards, and communities. At the VSBA publicly and predominantly recognize that teachers and school boards have the same. So let me just clarify. So this is basically like that the school board to add workshops on how the school board can work together with teachers. Am I reading that correctly? Included annually in the mode, focus, and approach of the VSB and its negotiating training workshops.
think they're trying to get the VSBA to add workshops.
Shops
on a
too,
model
so
that
that,
was used in
on how to negotiate with teachers.
Burlington, on how to negotiate with teachers.
And when it says board recommendation, they're talking about the Burlington School Board.
No, they're
No,
talking about the
state board.
VSBA school board, or the VSBA.
Board recommends
Yeah.
that they're not to pass that.
So what was,
I disagree with that, I
so
think.
what was the workshop, I mean, they had workshops on negotiation
Yeah.
and that kind of stuff already, right?
I do think that that might be why they're saying do not pass, because they're already offering
Oh.
those things. So I think what they're pointing to here is that
To add workshops.
there's the Vermont NEA aspect of this, and they've kind of named a specific relationship by objective.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's the only thing I can think of is that they're already doing negotiation workshops
Right.
for their board members.
Do you mind when you're making the vote, for me, clarify? If it's not supporting workshops, then no, but if they're just saying they don't want to add more, I think they should support.
Actually, I think it's all in the first sentence, that
Oh,
it's
it's
the labor
the
management model
model?
already used by a certain school district. I think that's probably,
They don't want to use that
they don't want to
model.
use that model. I think that's
Okay.
what it is.
Because it's based on the recommendation of the Vermont NEA.
Yeah. So,
My vote's no.
no.
Okay. Celebrates and awards individual school boards that show cooperative. Oh,
No.
calling out, yeah.
Oh, good job for you. pat on
Good
the
job
back.
for
No.
negotiating.
No.
Yeah, because some people have more
No.
scrappiness than others,
Well,
or less resources than
circumstances
others.
are different everywhere.
Yeah.
That the school board association supports the study and consideration and the costs associated with providing social services when making funding decisions and in anything. Yeah, I support that. Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Whoa. Let's see. School district innovation zones. Which is in, what? Allegations for duly elected school board members of the state be deleted from the.
I'll be completely honest, I don't understand this
I don't
one.
understand that one either.
No, and
This
there's
resolution was
certain names there
taken-
and- No.
Appears that they're trying to undo a resolution that was passed in the previous year.
Which is paving the way for charter schools to siphon funding from public schools, and such schools would not be accountable to public elect school boards. Okay, Vermont school boards have an obligation to support and advocate for public education.
No.
Which is direct opposition to the obligations and responsibilities of the duly elected school board members to the state be deleted from the, I don't
What
understand
it's
that.
saying is,
Like, I understand about the charter schools and independent schools
I think what it's
aren't
saying is
held
it's-
accountable for,
yeah, it's allowing charter schools to spend the money however they want,
but
without any
which
input from
is
anybody.
in direct opposition to the obligations of true. Be deleted from the, so, no, I don't think.
I can tell you that 3 boards voted ahead of you and they all said no to
Okay.
this
I'm with it.
resolution.
Okay, good, keep going.
So I actually, you could keep going one by one,
Yeah,
or I could tell you which ones.
yeah,
No, I want
No.
to throw.
you wanna
Okay.
do it one
All right. Number 8.
So
Number 7 was
Seven?
withdrawn.
So-
Okay. 8.
You also need Burlington.
Believes that the school boards benefit from
Number
having an
9.
ongoing teacher voice. True. Discussions on that are not subject to VK. Its members include teachers as active participants in the consideration of educational issues and favors the participation of as board members. You can't do that though.
Right.
You're a teacher.
Well, I would guess I was thinking teachers within the district. Yeah, exactly, that's why I said you can't do
No,
it.
this is to ask the VSBA to,
Encourage
develop a
its members to
strategy, yeah.
include teachers as active participants. I mean, I definitely think
No.
it's good to have.
Yeah.
I actually don't know, Morgan, because it says ongoing teacher voice in their discussions of all
Yeah.
school matters that are not subjects of executive session.
Yeah.
So I think it is school board members within the town that they're working is what they're proposing.
Yeah, no.
Or that executive.
Which
that Polly
actually, I
can-
remember North Country, there was a teacher on their school board who was employed. Yep, Pat Vanna.
Hmm.
She was a French teacher.
Speaking of that, we have to have a quick discussion on that too. That's
Oh,
not-
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
you're
that's
right.
under board.
So clarification on that one, if it's employees of that district, I say no. If it's encourages, yeah, there's nothing wrong with it.
Look at the end of the first line under be it resolved. That's the part that in my mind,
Oh, guidance to achieve the goal, that is occur, that one?
no, under be it resolved, the part that end, right there.
That are not subject, yeah. No, I don't think you should have
No.
present.
No, no.
And they can be present anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're
exactly.
always invited.
Yeah. But to require that or push for that in any kind of real way, I guess.
This one's out of Kingdom East.
Current regional boundaries with an eye to updating them so the operations of the school district. And the board should consider realigning its regions with those of the VSA. Creating a single region to represent the non-operating towns so that their needs, concerns, and issues are more clearly represented.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are nobody.
Yeah, exactly.
Art.
Whereas, that the Vermont Board of Associations should direct its staff to. Yes. Yep,
I hope so.
yeah.
Rick, are you a yes?
Just.
Yes.
Thought I saw a no there.
No, I'm just shaking my head because I was assuming that's what they were doing.
Yeah, all along, exactly. Resolves that any legislation passed in regards to school safety is usually elected to the individual school district boards to decide how.
So is this
what new
just for
safety
one
and
school
security
board?
measures, if any,
No.
should be instituted in the, yeah. No, I think it should be
Single-handedly.
broader than just the individual school as far as safety.
I'm voting yes for that one.
I would say no.
I'm-
Cause then you have the individual school board who says, we don't need locks on it, we'll just harm
Careful.
everybody. Cause that's what's saying, that an individual school board could make their own safety plan.
Well, but I also think that it says that somebody else can't necessarily dictate your safety plan also.
But there should be standards,
So
right?
part of
Well,
that.
Yeah, but who sets those standards, right? So, I mean, they could come in and say, we need bars on all the windows, we need,
Right.
you know, we can't have glass doors. I think
Right,
that,
agree.
I think that it's hard for me to believe that any school district in the state, it doesn't have safety. You know, you have to spend $120,000 on your phones now, you know, I think that I'm voting yay to that one. I believe that's what
Does
I'm
the
voting.
if any cause you concern?
It's all in the maximum.
The only problem is that it only outlines the one school.
Yeah.
district. That's my,
Yup.
No,
Well, I guess-
it
no, I
doesn't.
guess-
No, it doesn't.
no, it says any, should we let the individual school, okay, yeah, and then, yeah, all right.
Yeah, if
So
any.
also remember that you're not passing legislation here, you're just passing resolutions.
Resolutions.
Resolutions,
So-
yeah,
So this is really giving the legislature the sentiment of the
of what our
VSBA.
feeling, or the VSB, yeah,
Yeah, I'm
right.
actually okay with this one.
I still know,
2 yeses though.
yeah.
Okay. 12. Nope, we just did. Wait a minute. Yeah, we're on 12 now.
Yes.
Sorry.
urges the legislature and the governor to pass a temporary moratorium on the introduction of during, yeah, hallelujah, during this. Yeah, I am in support of that.
Yeah, me too.
Absolutely.
It's time to,
It's time to whoa.
yeah, whoa.
And then I like the part that says that the agency of ed is going to now manage supervising your existing legislative mandates. Like, figure out, are they working? Are they not working? Yeah,
Before there's no ones.
right. How'd
So-
the other boards do on that one?
You're the only one that voted yes.
Really?
Sorry.
What?
So
Sorry.
number 13 was withdrawn.
Okay.
Number 14, bet you'll have a little discussion on this.
Could surprise you.
Wait, whereas the. Wait. Where's the actual resolution? Are we?
Go down. It's on 2 pages, so
Oh, okay.
he'll give you like the first line under the be it resolved.
Okay, we therefore, for okay.
There you go.
Right there we go. We therefore. Yes.
Okay, there's more.
Oh, boy.
Whoa, back to the top. Oh, right there.
We therefore call on the United States Congress to enact, again, that's like, okay, to enact a rational policy to keep residents from gun violence and call on the Vermont legislature to explore further safety measures. Okay. We do so recognizing that we live in a rural area and long tradition of hunting and enforcement use of guns. We respect that culture about automatic rifles, armor piercing bullets, and clips. They take no position. I'm for it. Sure.
No.
Yep.
No.
I knew that was gonna happen. But that's interesting, because can you go back to the, I'm sorry, Morgan, can you go back, because it doesn't actually say, it's more of a general statement.
Right.
Shouldn't be sold anywhere in the United States, it's not even talking about schools.
So that's why.
Yeah.
So there.
So now that I
that
think
board
about
chose
that.
to take no position on this resolution.
Yeah.
And everybody that we have presented this to is like, we're with you, we're with you, we're with you.
And then there's
Last
that.
line, it's like,
Like, that
well,
makes
that's
no
not
sense.
what we
You're right.
thought you were
Yeah.
going to.
It's, that's too general of a statement.
In a lot of ways.
Request that the agency would conduct an ongoing financial cost saving studies for insurance. Yes. Taking these savings as a whole, the MSB requests that they be used in the future to reduce educational taxes statewide and not to fund new mandates and programs or fund existing obligations that are.
No.
Why? I'm okay. So let me see if I'm reading this right. I'm reading it as that there has to be some accountability to make sure that the merged district idea is actually working and saving money. And it's also saying that the money, if there is savings, that the money cannot be used to fund existing obligations that are now, new mandates or existing obligations. That it has to go to paying down your tax rate. Did I read that right?
I think that's how it's written.
Yeah.
I'm for that. Like, if you're gonna save money through the merging, it should go back to the taxpayer.
Well, that, and I think that I don't mind them measuring what savings are
Exactly.
actually supposed to be, so.
I mean, that's how they flew it, that's how they sold it, that this is gonna save the taxpayer money,
Yeah.
right?
I'm for that.
Isn't that how
That was
they
a
sold
piece
it?
of it. There was also
And then the equity and all of
piece.
that, correct, but as far as like the money,
Mhm.
they're saying you can't use this for, oh, but it could be used for the equity piece, I guess is what you're saying, like new mandates about equity. I got you.
Or the second round of school safety grants.
Or the second round of school, right. I,
I'm for it.
yeah, okay, I'm okay with it.
That's 2 yeses. You didn't even have to vote, Michael.
Switzerland, you know.
Is this 17?
Well,
This
16.
is 16.
Oh.
I can have been hungry.
So there's a lot of whereases in this one, but it's basically trying to get at the current supervisory union board structure, which sends the 3 members from each town, is not based on population. And so it's a push to have the
The process.
legislature look at that.
So I think that
Oh, okay.
part of this
That's
also
ideal.
is about, like, if you think about some of the approved 3x1s.
Yeah.
So the 3 in a 3x1 is considered one district, and each district is supposed to, by statute, send 3 members to SU board. Well, the 1 is also a single district, so they would send 3 members. So
So there's
that
none.
one single community would have a disproportionately higher representation on that SU board
Yeah.
as the current statute.
Yeah.
So this is trying to remedy, now that we'll be in merged systems, let's equalize that SU
Okay.
board.
I'm for that.
Page down and see whether they want that to pass.
Yeah.
Really? Really?
Are you shocked?
I am.
Why?
Because this is a board that's coming up with a system where the default articles are 2 people.
Oh, yeah.
And it doesn't have anything to do with
No,
population.
this
It's
isn't-
not this board. This is your
Oh, this
Vermont
is not-
School Boards Association.
Oh,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
All
Yeah.
right, that's wrong board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Careful where you're throwing stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Figure out how that. logic
I could
goes.
understand the really when
Yeah.
when we said that. Gotcha now, Rick. Okay, 17.
So yes.
Yeah.
Please, the amount of debt carried by each merging district should be considered, yes. Should be paid in an equitable way. Yeah, why do they do not pass that?
What does equitable way mean?
Why would they not pass that?
So I think that this one, Morgan, you can help me out if I'm going the wrong way, but my interpretation on this is it is about like the tax burden. It's the whole idea of Richford coming in with no debt, you guys having debt. And I think that they're talking about easing that transition by having you guys still be
for
responsible
more.
potentially
For the
for your
debt.
own debt and less of a burden
And
on
the
the community.
educating
So have
of
this-
another building.
Have the school budget one amount and the existing debt only paid by the Enosburg.
Is that how you're
Whatever.
taking
That's
this?
how I'm taking it.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
Which would like this one.
I bet,
Yeah.
because that, right?
Yeah.
But it makes, I mean, it kind of makes sense that you're thrusting your debt on somebody else. But I guess that's what you get in
Yeah, but
marriage,
they're also
right?
getting our assets.
That's marriage, you're right.
They're also getting the assets, so it's not
Okay,
just
you're right.
about debt.
I'm
We're
fine.
getting, well, there's the whole idea also of future help with the debt
Right.
burden
Yeah.
down the
Yeah.
road. So,
No.
what is the will of this board?
Oh,
Yes or no?
No.
yeah, no,
No.
yeah, fine.
Oh, I thought there was only 17. We got 18 for.
Well, there's 17 total because we skipped 2, so we go to 19.
Oh,
2 left.
So you.
I
Put a-
told you the truth. I didn't tell you about the tricks.
My kids have been, oh, never mind, not on camera. Never mind, keep going. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
This would be welcome
Yeah.
for me. The whole idea of civil discourse and
Yeah.
expecting people to,
Of
model
tomorrow,
it and
right,
teach it.
engage in civil
Wow.
as we, yes. Can you imagine? Another one? Which is this?
Fast.
19?
Well, she didn't tell us that there was 19 of them, and 2 of them withdrew, so that makes only 17 to vote on. See, she kind of tricked us a little bit.
So
Okay.
this is a long one.
You don't have to
And
read it
this is around what I was talking about before, that Act 11, the budget vote, in addition to restructuring the VHI board, has created a commission that's going to negotiate health
Right.
care or health insurance for all school employees. So it'll be your paras, your teachers, your administrators. This is the VSBA kind of laying out how they're going to appoint their 5 members to that commission.
Okay. Shall accept applications for appointment to the commission via online form. Let's hope it works. The deadline for submission of action, okay. Selection process. Okay. Process for ratification of agreement. Voting delegates, okay. Anything else? Okay. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, the last thing on your board agenda for the night is under other, and that is talking about board vacancy.
Right.
Do you know if Michael ever talked to Dave Jackson?
He did, Dave said no.
Okay.
And
So,
Melissa McKinstry works here, would not be able to continue to work
Right.
here.
and so she didn't want to not. So apparently, Michael was thinking of, what's her name?
Carol Ann Jackson.
Carol Ann
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I don't know her at all.
She is a young mom.
Yeah.
She's got 2 boys. They're non-school age yet. Chandler may be
Maybe
entering
preschool, he may be preschool maybe.
He's close.
Okay.
In that age range. So she does have interest if the board is.
Oh, she is interested?
She is interested. I know that we asked the principals to come up with some ideas too, and as they were walking out, I got a couple. Shauna Lovelet was brought up,
She's so
Just-
busy.
Jesse Woods,
That's right.
Jessica Eagles, I don't know her, Chris
She
D'Amato.
just joined the planning commission.
Okay.
Who was the last one?
Chris D'Amato.
Oh,
He
Chris
used to be the
D'Amato, he's
adult ed
way
coordinator.
busy.
Yeah.
He used to be the adult editor, he's the assistant principal at Green Mountain Tech Center.
Yep.
Great guy, but he works, he goes to his own board meetings.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean, the other thing to keep in mind is that you're appointing someone to go through March, well,
to go to March.
to go to March until you have a board election. And this board will most likely be non-operational as of June 30th.
I've talked to Jesse Woods in the past about getting on various boards, because we've always needed somebody somewhere. And I think after the,
He had bad experience on the village trustees.
exactly, he's been in the village trustees, he was great. He sometimes would get a little cornered, because he works right in town, that people would
Yeah.
Yeah,
kind of, and
he's too
so
accessible.
that's why he was like, I can't, because people just see my workplace as a place to talk about politics, but.
Carol Ann works across the street at, not called Spears anymore.
Well, it's still Spears.
Spears.
Yeah.
So I actually came up with Jim McKinstry, Amy Severance, Catherine Bennett, Jerry Parent, and Terry Dusso.
Well, I'm related to half of those people,
Only
just
half?
to be transparent with you.
Everybody's
Yeah.
related to everybody. So.
So, say that one more time.
Jim McKinstry, Amy Severance, Catherine Bennett, Jerry Parent, Terry Dusso.
So related to Amy and Terry, just so you know. Doesn't disqualify them, but I want to be transparent. I think that, I'm pretty sure that, who was between those two?
Catherine Bennett and
Catherine
Jerry
Bennett
Parent.
has been asked, I think.
Okay.
And
I think more than once she's been asked.
Okay.
Jerry Parent.
Jerry, I know, is trying to build his business. So
Right.
Okay.
I don't know.
so, well, we want to do a,
We've already talked to,
he talked to her tonight to see if there was interest. She
and
said
there's
yes.
interest?
Warm body.
At this point.
It's pretty important that we get somebody
We need
appointed
somebody.
soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty difficult to get a quorum.
Yeah, do it. I mean, I don't.
Are you directing me to contact her?
Yes.
Yeah.
Has she been contacted?
By Michael, yes, but not with a, yes, the board wants you.
So does the board want to make that motion
To contact,
to appoint
To
her?
appoint.
to appoint.
Michael said yes, she's interested in doing it. So you could make the motion to appoint her, she could start at your next meeting.
Let's do that. Oh,
Okay,
So I'll take a motion for that.
motion,
I don't need a motion.
I did.
Okay.
Second. All those in
I-
favor?
Aye.
Yep.
Yeah, that for Amanda.
What?
You
I
have to
motion-
Send Amanda that.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
'cause
yeah.
that, right.
Can you do that email?
And, sorry, what was her name again?
Carol Ann Jackson,
Where does she
related
work?
to Fran?
funeral home.
Funeral home. She is Fran's niece?
Oh,
Yes,
Yes.
right?
Yes, Craig and the Sanders brothers.
Yep. So I'll let Michael know.
okay. Do I motion to adjourn?
Love that.
Motion to
At
adjourn.
8:42.
For all we accomplished tonight, pretty good. It's just a little over 3.
Yeah.
Thank you.